Bell rolls is the reporter thrown into the secretive world of the Forex Super Model, where nothing is as it seems. Beware the techno monk, and steer clear of Professor Code and his two assistants. Give the senior trader a wide berth, and don't expect any sense from the risk manager.
Good morning, I'm Professor Code and this is a Forex Super Model daily briefing for Thursday the 18th of November 2021. The time is just coming up to 0420 GMT, Asian session coming to a close, European session firing up, our lunchtime North American session. Right, Wednesday the 17th, the last trading day, we had a positive opposed driver in the yen at plus 194. Front and back door flows mainly coming out the dollar at minus 128, out the euro at minus 119, and the pound was the positive rock at plus 53, activity plus or minus 247. Over the week then, intra-week then, this is more relevant as we're Thursday, this is from Monday open 15th to about 15 minutes ago. We've got a negative unopposed driver in the euro at minus 372. No backdoor flows, the opposing positive flows mainly going into the pound at plus 310, into the dollar at plus 51, and the yen is the positive rock at plus 11, activity plus or minus 372. So you can see then over the week then we've had a weak euro which is now thinking about strengthening up. Yesterday we had a positive yen driving, and we had a negative mover in the euro, and if you look at the Asian session, which is today 18th, open to about 15 minutes ago, we've got a positive euro here. We've got a negative opposed driver in the dollar at minus 24. Front and back door flows mainly going into the euro at plus 19, into the pound at plus 9, and the yen is the negative rock at minus 4, activity plus or minus 28. So you can see that now this normally means an unopposed driver, negative driver, normally means a floor or the start of a big ramp down. Well, the euro's had a big ramp down already, so it's likely to be signalling a floor in the euro. The euro, whilst it was softer yesterday, it wasn't driving, whereas it's been driving all week. So and the Asian session is starting to see a bit of strength in the euro, even though the dollar is actually negatively driving. So we'll stop that there and do the flows. Right, we've written up the flows then. So the euro is strong except against the New Zealand dollar. The yen is weak except against the dollar and the CAD. The pound is strong except against the euro, the New Zealand dollar and the Swiss. The Swiss is strong except against the New Zealand dollar. The CAD is weak across the board. The AUD is weak except against the dollar, the yen and the CAD. The New Zealand dollar is strong across the board, and the dollar is weak except against the CAD. So what have we got? We've got New Zealand dollar strength. We've got CAD weakness, full weakness. We've got secondary strength in the euro, apart from the New Zealand dollar. And we've got secondary strength in the Swiss. So we've got positive, positive, negative, and if we're looking for secondary weakness, where's secondary weakness? The dollar's got secondary weakness there as well. So what's going to knock it about then? Well, we've got a light data tier 2 day today, and it's basically tomorrow. We've got CAD retail sales tier 1, and it's sort of sandwiched in between two speeches by the EU President Lagarde. So not much going on really. So today's light, and tomorrow's bit of CAD news as well. And the CAD is interestingly it's been sold off the back of probably a falling oil, but anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. So we'll look at the asset classes. Right, we've written up the asset classes then. The US dollar index, so it's come off about 0.1, 10% from the high. Gold is 0.18 from the high, 18% off the modelled high, and oil's come off a fair bit. It's 0.38 from the high, so it's nearly 40% drop in oil from the resistance break. Wall Street, S&P and Tech, well, Wall Street's come off 0.14 from the high, The S&P is 0.055% from the high, and the tech's roughly at the high. So we've got a bit of divergence creeping in. Wall Street is the weakest, S&P next, and the tech's sort of come back and holding its own. But there's not a great deal in it, except between Wall Street and the tech. Right, US 10-year and the bund. This is the price. US 10-year is 0.19 from the floor, so its yields are well below half marks, so relatively strong. And the bund is 0.33 from the high, so yields are well above half marks, and they're relatively weak. So we've still got this yield divergence in the bund and the US. Copper is 0.31 from the floor, so it's about a third off the model floor, and US steel's at half marks. Right, so we'll get rid of that, and then we'll have a quick look at doing the final analysis. So like we said, today is fairly light. It's a tier 2 day, bit of US employment data, and tomorrow we've got CAD retail sales and a couple of speeches from the EU. So let's have a look then. So dollar, euro, yen, pound, CAD, AUD, NZD, Swiss. Well, the CAD's got this. This oil has come off on the CAD, and we've got retail sales tomorrow. So the CAD's looking pretty soft at the moment, and if you look at the flows in the Asian session, it's soft across the board. The dollar's come off slightly, and the euro's starting to look like it's going to come up. The yen, you've got equities at or near their highs, so we're near there, and the pound has been has done about turn and has come up, right. So, and the AUD, the Australian dollar is relatively weak, so it's relatively weak, and the New Zealand dollar is going the other way. It's relatively strong. New Zealand dollar is strong across the board. So what do we think is going to happen then? Well, looking at it generally, the euro and the dollar are the interesting ones, because the dollar's been pumped up at or near its highs previously in model terms, and the euro is starting to show signs of flow strength. So it's likely we're getting a peak out in the dollar, and we're going to get a bounce in the euro. So if you look at the flows generally, you're likely to see the dollar on the negative and the euro on the positive, and then you're left with the yen and the pound. The pound has had strong data. The pound and the yen really are going to be difficult to predict, because it's going to be dependent on what happens to equities. Equities are at or near their highs. If we start to see a push through on equities, and the interesting thing about this oil drop is that a few countries have sort of joined together to say they're going to release strategic oil reserves and sort of drive down the price of oil in the short term. Obviously this is a short-term measure, so that may well take some inflationary pressures off, and you could get a pump in equities again off the back of that. So and if the dollar starts coming off, that's relatively risk on. So you're quite likely to see yen neutral to negative again, and the pound neutral to positive. So, but we think the main winner in all this is going to be the euro. So you want to be some sort of long the euro once it starts to fly a bit, and the dollar's got the most to come. So euro dollar would be interesting from a long perspective. Euro yen, Those two would be quite interesting. So we'll be keeping an eye on those. And obviously the CAD situation is interesting as well with oil. So anyway, that's where we are this morning. We'll see what happens later on, and see you tomorrow for the daily briefing. So thanks for watching. Goodbye.